So, I have been giving talks on the practice of the 6 recollections, and I got up to recollection number 3, recollection of the Sangha. And the last time I gave a talk, I spoke about what is the Sangha. There's different meanings of that term, Sangha. So, the ultimate or real, actual Sangha are Arya beings. And so those are people or beings who have attained the direct realization of emptiness. So they've had that direct, non conceptual experience of the emptiness of true existence of all things. I was trying to imagine what that experience must be like. And I thought for ordinary people, it would be really frightening because it said that when you have this direct realization of emptiness, everything disappears. All the things we normally see and experience, our body and other people, other beings, the things in the world around us, all of those vanish, disappear. And even the mind, the sense of a mind that is experiencing emptiness, that also disappears. Your sense of I, self, disappears. All of the things we normally experience are gone. And the only thing that's experienced is this emptiness of inherent existence, which is said to be like space. So it would be like being dropped into space, and you don't even have a sense of an I in space. But Aryas are beings who have spent a long time preparing for this experience. It's not just suddenly, it happens all at once. So they spend a lot of time, probably lifetimes, learning and studying and thinking about it, meditating on it, and first getting an intellectual, conceptual understanding of emptiness, what it is, and then continuing to familiarize with that until finally they have this breakthrough to the direct non-conceptual realization of emptiness. So they should be well prepared and wouldn't freak out. And in fact, they'd feel really joyful because they understand the value of this experience, the purpose, the value, the context, because they know that this is the true nature of everything, the actual way everything exists, and not realizing emptiness, not experiencing emptiness, is our main problem. That's the cause of all our suffering and all our problems. And so they're kind of happy to have that experience. Not during the direct realization of emptiness. There would be no bliss, no happiness at that point in time. But when they come out, when they arise from that meditation, they're probably very, very happy. And also, their mind would have totally changed because it's the direct realization of emptiness that gradually shaves off all of our afflictive emotions, our ignorance, our attachment, our anger. So those afflictive emotions would have been greatly reduced, and so their mind would be much more clear and peaceful and positive. And I was thinking about the experience of going into outer space, because over the last year or so, a number of people have done that. Not NASA astronauts, but ordinary folks. Well, not really ordinary folks, the billionaires. You have to have a lot of money. High profile billionaires have made that journey. So there was a lot of news about that. And apparently they're going to start offering tickets to other people to make that journey to outer space. And the tickets range from $200,000 to $55 million. That's to go to the International Space Station and spend some time there. So not just anybody can have that experience. And we're thinking about how many hungry and homeless people could benefit from that kind of money. But anyway, it would be an amazing experience to go up there and then look down at the earth from such a high place. But then on the other hand, you have to come back down, back to this world. Has anything really changed? Probably the same problems as before, all the wars and the conflicts and the climate crisis and the hunger and so on and so forth. And has anything changed in yourself? Has your mind changed at all? You've had that great experience, you can tell your friends about it, but what about your afflictive emotions? Have they been reduced at all? Your ignorance, your anger, your attachment, your ego. Have your problems been reduced at all? Your relationship problems, this body, and what happens with the body, sickness, aging, death. So have those problems been reduced at all? Probably not. On the other hand, the trip to the direct realization of emptiness is absolutely free. But you do have to give up ignorance and ego and attachment and anger. So you do have to pay something. But that's a good kind of paying. Getting rid of those things is something beneficial. So that experience of having the direct realization of emptiness is zillions of times more meaningful, more beneficial, more satisfying than the trip to outer space. So Aryas then, that's the real Sangha are the ones who've had that experience, who've made that inner journey. And then there's another meaning of Sangha, the conventional Sangha, and that refers to monastics. Not just one or two, but there needs to be at least 4 or more fully ordained monastics, because that's the number required to be able to perform certain rituals like giving ordination. And monastics, Buddhist monastics are mostly people we can have contact with. I mean, we don't really know who the Aryas are. There were a lot around at the time of the Buddha, and there's probably some in the world today, but not always easy to know who they are. Whereas there's a lot of Buddhist monastics, and we can have contact with them fairly easily. And they are people who are most likely to become Aryas, even if they're not yet Aryas, but they're living a lifestyle that's conducive for attaining that direct realization of emptiness and becoming actual Aryas. And the term Sangha has also come to be used in a looser way nowadays, especially in the West. People often use the term Sangha for just the group of people with whom they're studying in a Buddhist center or even meditating in somebody's living room. So strictly speaking, that's not the real meaning of Sangha, but I can understand how it came about, because for many people, that's the only Sangha they know. They don't know who Aryas are. They probably don't even know what an Arya is. And they may not have contact with monastic Sangha. There may be no Buddhist monastics in their hometown or even in their country. And this group of people with whom they're studying and learning and discussing Dharma and meditating, these are the people they have contact with and get a lot of benefit from. Because it's hard to meditate on your own. So this kind of Sangha does somewhat serve the purpose of Sangha in the sense of spiritual friends, a spiritual community with whom you're practicing. So I don't think it's really harmful to use the term Sangha in that way, as long as people do understand the real meaning of Sangha. Yeah, what does that term really refer to? And especially when we talk about taking refuge in the Sangha. Okay. And also, I think it's good if people can try to make contact with at least the monastic Sangha, which is easier nowadays than in the past, because there are monasteries like Sravasti Abbey, also Nalanda Monastery in France. So there's a number of monastic communities where there is a Sangha, a genuine Sangha, and offering courses online, so you can connect online with a monastic Sangha and learn from them and benefit from their presence, their existence. Then maybe even one day travel to a monastery and spend some time there, as people do here. So it's good to at least try to connect with a monastic Sangha. So how do we practice the recollection of the Sangha? There's a verse in the Pali Sutras which is recited regularly in Theravada temples and monasteries, and it mentions some of the good qualities of the Sangha, so we can meditate on those. I'm not going to read the whole verse, but it's mainly talking about how the Sangha practices, how they practice. They practice the good way, the straight way, the true way, the proper way. So basically what that means is Sangha are people who have felt so strongly about the Buddha and his teachings and the path explained by the Buddha that they want to dedicate their whole lives to following that path. So they give up everything else and just really focus on living according to the Buddha's teachings, putting them into practice. And this path that we are following is the path that leads to genuine happiness, liberation from suffering and the causes of suffering, and eventually to full enlightenment. And it also talks about how the Sangha are worthy of gifts and offerings and hospitality. And so traditionally, the Sangha are supported by lay people. And generally, lay Buddhists are happy to support the Sangha because they really value the presence of the Sangha. They value what the Sangha are doing. They're living in a pure ethical life, refraining from non-virtuous actions, doing virtuous actions, really working on their mind, trying to overcome the disturbing emotions and so on. And so they think, that's wonderful, that's great what those people are doing. And I want to support them. I want to make sure they don't starve to death and disappear. I want them to be in the world and continue doing what they're doing because they're serving as a role model, an example, an inspiration, and also a source of teachings and guidance. So lay people are generally happy to keep the Sangha alive with offerings of food and clothes and so on. Yeah, so that's just a little bit about how to recollect the Sangha. And I was thinking about how even though all three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, are precious and valuable and essential for our spiritual practice and our spiritual growth, I think the Sangha plays a particularly important role because the Buddha is not in the world, at least for me. he's not sort of physically present in the world. We can think of the Buddha, visualize the Buddha, meditate on the Buddha, but we don't have him physically present to see and interact with. And the Dharma is kind of more abstract. The real Dharma are the true paths and true cessations. And for me, those are like way up there, very far away. And even the Dharma in the sense of the teachings, of course, we can listen to the Dharma, study, think about, meditate on the Dharma. But it's still something not tangible, not sort of physically present. It's more in our mind. But the Sangha, on the other hand, are physically present. They are other people like ourselves. So we can see them, we can observe how they behave, we can talk with them, interact with them, wash dishes with them, and so on. And so they provide a very important role for us in our practice, because it's not easy to practice the Dharma, especially now in the world today. It's really going against the stream of what most people in the world are doing. And so it's very hard to practice on your own. I know for myself, I would never have been able to embark on this path if I was all by myself with nobody else around to help me. So it's very, very important for us to have other people who are like-minded, have the same kind of thoughts and feelings and wishes that we have, and be able to practice together with them. So let's keep that in mind and really try to feel grateful that we do have the chance to interact with the Sangha, that there is this presence of Sangha in the world. Don't take them for granted, and really rejoice in what they are doing. And this is something helpful for ourselves, helpful for others, helpful for the world, and for the continuation of the Dharma.